Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Hare Krishna, good morning. This is a new semester for me. See some new faces. Hare Krishna, my name is Madhava. I'm living in this area for 24 years, 25 years. And I've been involved with Krishna House little by little. I think I first started going out to the campus during my lunch breaks at lunch where I work at the university. So in 2001, I started going out and playing with Madanga for a plate of prasad. And then gradually, when Kalakanta took charge of Krishna House, he started engaging me more. And it's been just such an enjoyable service for me to get to know you and to get to know your programs here. So, can you, some of you, raise your hands if you've ever heard of Uddhava before? If you've never heard of Uddhava before, raise your hand. Okay, good. We have some. So, this summer semester, and generally the curriculum has been that during the semester, each semester, we tackle a good portion of the Srimad Bhagavatam, and sometimes it's 1 or 2 cantos a semester, depending on the length of them. And so we've been doing that for a number of years, and just so happened to finish the 10th canto, which you'll come to know is the smiling face of Krishna, or compared to his smiling face, or the ultimate destination for those who are trying to develop their love for Krishna. That is everything is there. All descriptions of Krishna is there. But the Srimad Bhagavatam doesn't end there. And you would think that as somebody is progressively bringing us on a path of understanding who Krishna is, once you start, because Prabhupada even says in the introduction to Srimad Bhagavatam, one should study the Bhagavatam canto by canto, chapter by chapter, first canto, second canto, the 9th canto. And by the time you get to the 9th canto, you will be fully self-realized. And then you'll be able to understand Krishna in the 10th canto. So you would think that, just objectively, well, if our whole purpose is to hear about Krishna and learn about Krishna, we got self-realized by 9th canto, and now we are learning about Krishna in 10th canto, then it's finished, right? So no, Srimad Bhagavatam has 12 cantos, 2 more cantos for us. And they're actually quite interesting cantos in of themselves. And the majority of this 11th canto is also known as the Uddhava Gita. So have you all heard of the Bhagavad Gita? You've all heard of the Bhagavad Gita. What does Bhagavad Gita mean? Song of God. So we would naturally think that the Uddhava Gita means Song of Uddhava, but no, that's not. It's the song to Uddhava. So slightly different. But the Uddhava Gita is an encapsulation, and it's 24 chapters of the 11th canto's 27 or 28 chapters. So it's quite lengthy. And it goes into very detailed understanding. And so to get to try to understand, and I think my task was to give an introduction to the Uddhava Gita. So we need to know a little bit about Uddhava, and we need to know a little bit about the setting. Just as when we hear Bhagavad Gita for the first time, it's good to hear, well, what is the setting of Bhagavad Gita? Who is Krishna? Who is Arjuna? So for the Uddhava Gita, it is similar that we should hear a little bit about the personalities involved. So Sukadeva Goswami, as he's explaining Srimad Bhagavatam, he's keeping the 10th canto very, very sacred and he basically ends the 10th canto very, I'd say definitely that this was the last portion. But then he begins the 11th canto with a couple of verses, a pair of verses that are very important. They are the 6th and 7th verses of the first chapter. Swamurtya lokalavanam nirmukta lokanam nirnam giribhistan smaratam chatam padaistan ikshatam kriya. So this is and also mysteriously or interestingly, there is almost an exact duplicate to this verse at the end of the 9th canto. So they're like bookends of the, bookends aren't used anymore because everything's digital, but they're used to put books on a shelf in the old days. And there would be bookends to hold the books in place. And so these two bookends are there and they're important. So the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, is the reservoir of all beauty. Swamurtya. Swamurtya means the most beautiful form. And what is that form? Loka. It steals, that form of Krishna steals our attention, or steals our sight practically. It's local. The word for word is steals away our eyes. That means once we experience and see the form of Krishna with these eyes, as soon as we turn away from Krishna, then it's horrid, it's horrible. I cannot do it. It's almost like our air. Once we get a gasp of air, we don't want to not breathe again. We must keep breathing. So the eyes were like, once they see Krishna in the 10th canto, when we see Krishna's activities, don't want to see anything else. And he attracted all the of the Lokana, of all people who saw Krishna were immediately attracted. Then his Giribhistan Smaratam, his words were attractive, and they were so attractive just by remembering his words brought great relief to those who had heard them. So this is a little key to our, there'll be many keys to Uddhava Gita, but the first key to open it is that this are the words of Krishna. They are Krishna's words spoken to Uddhava. And so when we smaratam chittam, when we remember them, we can obtain that association, and we can get great comfort from that. Then the kriya, his activities. Krishna very easily spread his glories, and in this way, he spread his glories. So simply by seeing Krishna, everyone wanted to immediately talk about Krishna. And about talking about Krishna, everybody remembered Krishna. And so Krishna thought, this is perfect. This is perfection. This is what I've come here to do. Yes, I've come to annihilate the miscreants and establish religious principles. And we'll see a little bit of the establishment of religious principles throughout Uddhava Gita. But his purpose, his prime purpose, was that just by, what is it, Padam Ishvaram, Padaistan Ikshikam, just by him walking around and doing things, people's eyes are attracted to it. And those things are just extraordinary. The whole 10th canto, extraordinary from beginning to end. And people talked about it. They talked about it. And he thought, this is perfect. This is exactly what I wanted. Because now, even if I leave, and we don't like to talk about Krishna leaving, but yes, Krishna's pastimes are coming to an end. And the 11th canto will touch into that a little bit. But he thought, this is perfect. This is a perfect situation. I've done things. People saw it and people talk about it. And so, he says, simply by hearing and chanting those glories, conditioned souls born in the future. So we are those future conditioned souls. I'm conditioned, certainly. We can cross beyond the darkness of ignorance, being satisfied with this arrangement. That's the Padais, the the Padam Ishvara, he became very satisfied that, oh, I don't have to do anything else. But he did want to do one more thing. So Krishna was on the planet for 125 years. I'd say that's what the acharyas told us. And he gave his association, he did all these wonderful pastimes, but he didn't get to do one thing he wanted to do. He wanted to give his association to the sages, specifically the sages in Bhadarikashram and his expansions there, Nara and Narayan rishis. And so he thought, well, my time is up. I have to go. And 11th canto, you hear how the demigods are coming and they're saying, it's time to go, Krishna. It's time to, you've done everything. But Krishna thought, oh, but I still want to do this. I still want to give my association to these persons. These persons, again, those who live in the forests and ashrams, they are primarily focused on jnana and yoga. And although he did speak a little bit about karma, jnana, and yoga in the Bhagavad Gita, it was not extensive because the circumstance there was very dire and very urgent. They were sitting on a battlefield. So you can imagine that the situation's a little different. Whereas here, he's in the forest near Prabhas Kshetra, kind of a very peaceful and serene area at that time. So, although he did give karma yoga, chapter 4, 3, 4, in Bhagavad Gita 3, 4, 5, jnana yoga, and then a little bit about dhyana yoga as well. So he gave that, but very, very short. But he ultimately concluded to Arjuna, Sarva Dhamam Parityajya Mamitam Saranam Bhaja. You should now go. Secretly, he's saying go to Vrindavan, but he's saying go on with devotion and surrender to me in devotion and give up karma and jnana. But the use of karma and jnana is very important in the world because not everybody can do that. Not everybody at a drop of a coin is able or willing, certainly not willing, to just do that. But they are engaged in work. They are engaged in cultivation of knowledge. Some are engaged in the cultivation of mysticism and yoga. So he wanted to more fully give those paths. So the question may come up, well, why again, we just heard about Krishna. He stole away our eyes, he stole away our thoughts, he stole away everything from us. Why do we want to go back here? So Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur gives a few explanations of this. And let's see. I have it outlined here in another place. Yeah, so because Krishna, I was supposed to tell you who Uddhava was, but I didn't get to that yet. But I will in a moment. So Krishna is thinking, I also need to give these paths because these paths are important to some. So the question is, why does Krishna speak about karma, jnana, and yoga so close to the conclusion of Srimad Bhagavatam? Or why did Sukadeva present it in that way? This is Krishna's, again, his last words. Because after this Uddhava Gita, Krishna leaves. He leaves to his eternal abode. So Vishwanath answers in a number of ways, but here are four of the primary ways. Bhakti fulfills the purpose of all Vedic understanding. So as we go through the Uddhava Gita, we'll hear very intricate understandings of karma yoga, which is the working. How do we work for Krishna? How do we engage ourselves in action and somehow or other make it profitable to our spiritual life? How do we do that? So there's a lot of it, and it culminates in bhakti. Then jnana yoga. How do we acquire knowledge? How do we cultivate knowledge and understanding of the intricacies of the workings of the material nature, the spiritual nature, the jiva, the souls who are in the, what is our relationship with Krishna? What is very intricately, he goes into jnana yoga, and Sankhya yoga is in there as well. So those two things are very elaborately explained and culminates in bhakti. Because as it's very clearly made out in the Uddhava Gita, that karma yoga cannot be successful without devotion to Krishna. So anything that would fall under the karma yoga, with varnashram or doing activities or all these things, that must, for it to be successful, it must end in devotion to Krishna. Jnana yoga, for it to be successful, for you to be a good jnani or expert in knowledge and understanding of all the intricacies of material nature, it must culminate in bhakti. It must be the bhakti principle there to understand it. And yoga, to acquire any mystic perfection of all the different astangas and all the different practices of yoga, there must be bhakti for it to become fully successful, to attain samadhi, which is the ultimate goal of yoga. Must be bhakti. But bhakti, as Krishna will conclude in the Uddhava Gita, does not need karma, does not need jnana, and does not need yoga. And so it distinguishes. He wants to say that bhakti, this is again the first, bhakti is the primary purpose of the Vedic understanding. So Uddhava Gita presents it very conclusively, not just like, oh, it's a sentiment in bhakti, yes, no, very conclusively throughout Uddhava Gita, this conclusion will be there, that bhakti is prime. And all of our acharyas in our line, Rupa Goswami, Sanatana Goswami, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, Baladeva Vibhushan, all of their writings, they're bringing this. And what is the prime statement that we know that basically says this? Yes, that was it. Louder? Right. I put him on the spot, sorry. Yes. So as that is the prime focus of Nectar of Devotion or Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, that is learned from the Uddhava Gita. That karma and jnana, they're not needed. Or they're not needed to attain pure devotional service. However, they do have their usage, their needs. There is a need in the world, you could say. So that, but the primary, you could say the primary understanding of Uddhava Gita is understanding that bhakti is the purpose. Then, here's you could say it's contrary, but then the second that Vishwanath brings out is the Vedic system is very liberal and inclusive. There's also this is certainly a concern in at least in our Western society now. How do we create inclusion and diversity and inclusion? How do we do this? So the Vedic system has this. It's very inclusive. It's not that, the only way is to fully at once sarva dharma pratitya. Yes, that's the goal, but that's not for everyone. So how do we include everyone else? So he says, Vishwanath Chakravarti says, no matter, all practitioners, no matter which path they've chosen to bhakti, Krishna nevertheless allows for the exercise of free will. So there may be those who are jnanis, those who are yogis, those who are karma, those who are karmis, who are those practicing karma yoga for a result to give to Krishna. Sometimes we use the word karmi in a derogatory way, but karmis are actually good people. Karmis are those who are offering the fruits of their work to Krishna. So vikarmis, you gotta be careful. But so he wants everyone to exercise their free will, and whatever way they want to come to him, he allows it. But if you do it perfectly, you will still end up to bhakti, which is quite amazing. That if somebody really wants to, I just want to be a karmi, I want to be a karmi yogi, I want to offer everything to, eventually you're going to start, Krishna's going to start speaking in the heart of those persons. Oh, that's such a nice offering. Give me a little more. Give me a little more. And the karmi will be purified by that offering. And he'll just, I just want to give everything to Krishna. And he attains it. He attains the same result, but it was on a different path. You could say different path, but so very liberal, very inclusive. Those who want the goals of karma and yoga may still fulfill their desires within the framework of Vedic culture. The Vedic literature's justification for their path, practices, and goals. This is Vedic liberality and inclusiveness. That's a nice statement. Then, okay, so again, the question is, why karma, why jnana, why is this there? It protects the confidentiality of bhakti itself. So in the Uddhava Gita, there's just a few seed verses that he reopens, you could say, that the vision into the 10th canto, but then he closes it again. Just pops it open and closes it. Few 4, 5, 6 verses only. But it's there because bhakti is very confidential. It's not to be engaged in a haphazard way. It should be done in a very intentional way. So confidentiality of bhakti is very important for that. It says, the Vedic literature, including Srimad Bhagavatam, uses parokshavad, or indirect, esoteric statements that allow for multiple interpretations. So this quite, and again, Uddhava Gita will get into these topics. This protects the intimacy and confidentiality of bhakti from those who lack faith and realization. How many times when we read Srimad Bhagavatam 10th canto does Prabhupada keep bringing us back to this point, that it is not a boy and a girl as we would conceive a boy and a girl. He's constantly bringing us back to understand it is not like the world we see, these pastimes of Krishna. It is not at all. And so bhakti itself needs its protection and needs to be confidential. And so when Krishna, in the confidential knowledge to Arjuna, he is saying these are very deep, these are very confidential subject matters. This protects the intimacy and confidentiality of bhakti. In addition, with the shift back to philosophy in the 11th canto, the intimacy of the Leelas discussed in the 10th canto are again hidden from sight. So those who cheaply take up the following of Krishna, and we do see this, we don't see it so much in the West, we just see complete abnegation or just sense enjoyment. I will enjoy as if I were maybe it's not there that as if I'm God, but they are enjoying thinking that I am the one who's important and there's no one else important to my enjoyment than me. But there are those who do understand a little bit about Krishna. And then they want to enjoy that, and they want to enjoy like Krishna. And they're called the Prakrita Sahajiyas, or those who take Krishna's activities, these confidential confidential activities, very cheaply. And they think, oh, Krishna dances with the girls late at night. I will go and dance because I'm just following Krishna. He has 16,000 wives. I will have many wives. I will. Yeah. So these things these confidential understandings of Krishna need to be protected. So better for those who are after something like that, let them be engaged in karma yoga, let them be engaged in jnana yoga. Yes, they may still have some enjoyment and sense gratification as a result to their karma, art, and their economic development, sense gratification. Those things can go on, but there's the bhakti element is always in there for them to become perfect. In that, they need to have some bhakti inserted, and that will grow. And then the last one, Krishna says, Krishna has a tendency to speak philosophy. Krishna likes to speak philosophy. He spoke philosophy to everyone. Didn't he speak to philosophy to the gopis? Oh, I'm everywhere. I'm in the heart. I don't have to. Oh, well, you can just think of me. I'm in your heart. Uddhava, when he came to Vrindavan, I still have to tell you who Uddhava is. But when he came to Vrindavan, he tried to bring the gopis and the Nanda Maharaj. He tried to bring them to the jnana understanding, because their bhakti was just so much that they could not live without Krishna. So he said, oh, Krishna's, let's bring them to the jnana so that they can still live. Krishna's everywhere. Krishna's in your heart. They said, we don't want to hear this. We just want Krishna. Anyway, those are 4, you could say, answers as to why the shift from 10th canto pastimes of Krishna to what will be understood. And I don't want to scare you that this is just going to be heavy philosophy, but it's all mixed in there. There's always the bhakti element, and the purports will bring that into, because most of the purports in the BVT edition are from Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur and Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati, which I have compiled in this book. But it'll be wonderful. It'll be a wonderful journey for you. So now, who is Uddhava? So Uddhava is related to Krishna, and he is his cousin. Krishna's father, you could say Krishna's, and that's also contended that Krishna's father was Vasudeva and Devaki. But once in the Kurukshetra, when they all got together, Devaki was talking to Yasoda, and she says, thank you so much. Even though he is not your son, he is my son. You took care of him like him. And Yasoda didn't want to hear that. No, he is my son. He's not your son. So anyway, whoever's son he is, Nanda's or Vasudev's. Vasudeva had a brother. His name was Devavagya, and his son was Uddhava. And Uddhava, from his very birth, so attracted to Krishna, so in love and enchanted by Krishna. He would just constantly play in these thoughts of Krishna, so much so that I think I forgot where it is. It may be in the 11th canto, or maybe in the 3rd canto. But he wouldn't even go and eat when being called, just a 5-year-old boy, be called, come and eat. No, it's and because of his meditation, he also looked very much like Krishna. being related, you could say related in the blood way, but because his consciousness was always on Krishna, he also appeared a lot like Krishna. And let's go to 10th canto, 46th chapter, text number 1. Just give me the Sanskrit. Yeah. So these are 4 qualities of Uddhava. These are the 4 qualities of Uddhava. Vrishninam Bharavo Mantri. He was the most Prabhu is the greatest, and Mantri is advisor. He was the greatest advisor to the Vrishnis or the Yadu dynasty. So in that way, he was very trusted, and Krishna could trust him. And this verse opens up in the 10th canto how Krishna wanted to give Uddhava messages to bring to Vrindavan, and these are his qualifications to do that. That he was most trusted, he was the best counselor, most trusted person of the Yadus. Krishnaya Dayate Sakha. So he was so attached to Krishna, and he was not only that, he was so much loved by Krishna as well. Krishna loved him, and he loved Krishna, and therefore the Sakha relation, this friendship was so tight that Krishna, just like your best friend, you'll tell them anything, you trust them. So Krishna is able to reveal his innermost feelings to Uddhava. Shishya Brihaspati Shakshad. He is the Shishya, he is the disciple of Brihaspati. And Brihaspati, now we're getting some history. Brihaspati is the guru of all the demigods. So quite exalted that Uddhava became his disciple as well. So learned in all facets of Vedic understanding, everything, the histories, everything, he was completely grasped by this relationship with Brihaspati. So therefore, very intelligent. And with that, he certainly can become a good mantri, which is an advisor. He knows everything, karma, jnana, he knows. And then Uddhava Buddhi Satama. This one is very intelligent also. Not that he just book learned it and is able to memorize, but his buddhi, his intelligence was very fine and very precise, that he could understand everything. So this are some of his qualifications. But again, to underline Krishnaya Daita Saka, go to the next verse. Bhagavan Preshtam Bhaktam Ekantinam, that he became Jai Shishima. Preshtam means so dear, so loved, so it's just like, I can't live without you practically. To Bhagavan, to Krishna, he became so dear because Bhaktam Ekantinam. Uddhava's bhakti to Krishna was singular. He had nothing could take Uddhava's attention away from bhakti to Krishna. So these are some of the qualifications of Uddhava and who Uddhava is. And so, I get to a verse sometime today. What is okay, now I wanted to further introduce Uddhava Gita as, what did we get from the Uddhava Gita? So we think, it's the 11th canto only. No, actually the entire 3rd and 4th cantos are the result of the Uddhava Gita. So because at this time when Krishna was disappearing, Uddhava, because of this Bhaktam Ekantinam, that he was so attached is described in the 11th canto. Uddhava didn't want to leave Krishna's side. And Krishna was thinking, now it's my time to go. I'm going to now disappear. I've done everything. The battle of Kurukshetra happened. We've rid the world of the demonic kings. The Yadu dynasty started to become proud. And when pride comes, they'll take advantage. So I need to rid the world of them. So they were cursed. They had two curses, the Yadu dynasty. The first curse was by Gandhari, because she blamed Krishna, although Krishna had no blame. She blamed Krishna. Krishna, you could have not had this battle of Kurukshetra happen. You're the supreme persona. Therefore, I curse you that your family will go in the same way. And the same way means family fighting family. The Kurus were related to the Pandavas. There was all relations there. So as my family has completely been destroyed, your family will be destroyed. So that was the first curse. And the second curse, explained in the first few chapters of this 11th canto, that part of that pride that seeped into the Yadus were the pride within the younger Yadus. And they thought, oh, we're sons of Krishna, nobody can rival us. And there's some sages there. Let's go play a trick on them. So they took one, it was Samba, stuff his belly up. Let's dress him up like a girl. Make him look like he's pregnant. We'll see. Let's go play a trick on these sages. And they go up to the sages. They say, oh, great sages, you know everything, you know past, present, future. Tell us what this doe-eyed girl, will it be a boy or a girl? Sages certainly can see past, present, and future. So, oh, yes, this girl, they will have a baby that is a lump of iron that will be the destruction, or it will have a club that will be the destruction of your entire race. And lo and behold, they uncovered Samba's belly, and there was this iron club instead of the pillows or whatever they stuffed. And their hair stood on end. They went to Ugrasen. They didn't go to Krishna. Again, their pride had seeped in. So they went to Ugrasen, who was the king. Okay, what do we do? What do we do with this? Okay, they didn't do the Bodhisattva Matri. They didn't go to Uddhava and ask his opinion. They didn't go to Krishna. They said, Ugrasen. Again, the pride seeped in. Let's just grind it up in the finest particle and throw it into the ocean, because Dwarka is on the ocean side. They did that, but the curse was there. So how are these ground up bits going to become the destruction of the Yadu dynasty? They all went to shore eventually, and they each took root, and they became these bamboo rods, as hard as iron, each one of them. And there was this one little bit that they couldn't grind up. It was so hard they couldn't grind up. And so just throw that in there too. But then, fisher people, they use these lures things to catch fish, and kind of shiny. So this thing was floating down, and a fish gulped it up. This fish gulped up that last bit. And so a hunter, his name was Jara, he caught the fish in his regular activities, and he opened the fish, and there was this lump of metal. Oh, this will be good. Let me fashion this lump of metal into an arrowhead, and I'll make an arrow. So this was the setting, the curse taking place. And so the Yadus, when it was seen that bad omens were coming, Krishna also knowing everything, even though they didn't tell him, he knew everything. Said, let's all go to Prabhu, very sacred place on the river, on the side of the ocean. Let's all go there and perform a sacrifice, austerities, to take from the holy place. And so they all did that. And while there, yes, they were doing some duties, but then they also kind of started fermenting some rice into wine, and then they started drinking. You know, when you're on holiday, you go somewhere, that's what happens, right? You go, you start eating too much or whatever. So they were drinking too much of this. And then they all became mad, and there were still 2 or 3 people left from the Kurukshetra battle. Kritavarman was there, and there was a dispute, we could say, between him and another descendant of someone he killed unfairly, and so that started the fight. And then the whole Yadu dynasty, they shot all their weapons, and they were going for pilgrimage. They didn't have a lot of weapons, so whatever weapons they had, they used up pretty quickly. And then they saw these rods, and they said, well, let's use those. They started pulling up these rods that turned into iron practically. They were so hard, and they started beating each other to death. And that last arrow, that's another story for another time. But this was the scene. Krishna left. Even Krishna and Balaram took part in this fight. Of course, they weren't defeated. After this, Balaram went to his supreme abode on Anantashesh, and Krishna, he was about to leave, and Uddhava was following him, and don't go, don't go. I don't have enough of that. So Krishna wanted, though, he knew it's time to go, and he wanted to give his association to Badrikashram sages. So he thought, as Uddhava was my messenger before, he will be my messenger again. But let me teach him fully this Uddhava Gita. And there's a verse in the 4th canto. We won't go into the 3rd canto, but let's just take a look at verse 6 in this of what I was assigned. Don't tell Pelican, but I do have to do something that I'm supposed to do. So text 6. Yeah, we won't read this. Now you should completely give up all attachment to your personal friend. This is Krishna's first instructions to Uddhava. Now you should completely give up attachment to all your personal friends and relatives. So who is that? The Yadus. Fairly easy now because they've all killed each other. But give up that attachment to them. And fix your mind on me. Very similar to something we've heard from Krishna to Arjuna. Very similar. Thus, being always conscious of me, you should observe all things with equal vision and wander throughout the earth. So, this commentary by Krishna Chakravarti Thakur is very satisfying and very big. Krishna thought. So, this is what the acharyas can give us. They can give us what Krishna is thinking when he is speaking these words. And that's why purports are so important throughout all of our books. We have Prabhupada's purports, and we have purports from other acharyas in our line. While remaining on earth, I satisfied the desires of all those who sincerely wanted to see me. I married many thousands of women headed by Rukmini, and I killed many demons in various places and by various contrivances. I attended the religious functions organized by my friends and relatives. I gave my person, so he's going a whole list of all the things he did. So after that list, he says, however, Nara, Narayan Rishi and the great sages who reside with him at Badrikashram have never had their desire fulfilled by seeing me. I have been on this earth for 125 years, and so the duration of my stay has reached its limit. Being busy with my pastimes, I had no time to see those great sages, and yet Uddhava is almost as good as me. He is a pure devotee who has been awarded my transcendental opulence. I therefore consider him to be the right person for me to send to Bhadarika Ashram. I shall impart transcendental knowledge to Uddhava, so that anyone who receives it from him will become detached from material existence. So that is the main focus again of, for those who want to practice karma yoga, for those who want to practice jnana yoga, for those who want to practice yoga, the ultimate goal is to become detached from all of those desires and surrender to Krishna. Sarva Dharma Prajeta. So he's laying out the process through the Uddhava Gita for Uddhava to then bring it throughout the world and share it. So Uddhava Gita is very wonderful. There's some very wonderful parts. Some of the favorite parts are like hearing about all the different gurus, how, again, this is the jnana vision, how to see a guru in nature, in 26, 27, 28 gurus. Anyway, that'll be fun. But any quick questions before we end here? Comments?
Actually, right at the end, when you said what Krishna was thinking when he was telling Uddhava Prabhu, it kind of actually struck me the importance of the spiritual master when you say he's as good as Krishna. What does that mean? And it kind of just struck me how that's what it means. Krishna thinks that spiritual master or Uddhava or Prabhupada, when they're speaking, it's like directly hearing from Krishna.
And what was Uddhava's quality? Bodhisattva. He was very intelligent. He was very confidential, and he was Sakha. He was his great friend. So yeah, all those relationships that we have with our spiritual master should include all that. To become very friendly, I think there is a statement of Prabhupada: spiritual master is the best friend. Spiritual master imparts knowledge. We should be very confidential with the spiritual master. And so, yeah, very nice. Got the nod. Oh, what is your name?
Sure.
Sham. Jai.
I read somewhere that Karna had two arrows, one which was meant to kill Krishna, another which was meant to kill Arjuna.
Who?
Karna.
Karna.
And that arrow would have killed Arjuna if Krishna would not have interfered by lowering the chariot to the ground.
Yeah.
And it took off Arjuna's crown.
Yeah. Krishna was very tricky in the battle of Kurukshetra. He could do anything for Arjuna, even to the point where, even though he said, I will not fight, he was willing to give that up and ruin his own reputation for Arjuna. That is the sakha. That is that quality that Uddhava had. He'll do anything for Krishna. Krishna will do anything for him. And that is what Krishna is advising in Bhagavad Gita to us. For those who are always thinking, I am in them and they are in me. There's no separation. There's no separation. So Krishna will do anything for his bhakta.
And the second arrow was what the hunter used to kill Krishna.
That may be folklore, and there could be some truth in it, but yeah, perhaps he lost it, and Jara picked it up. Maybe it's the same arrow. Who knows? Maybe Jara got it a long time ago, lost it. Karna tried it. He lost it again. Jara got it back. Yeah, some details of those are not all super important, but we would know that from that club though was the Yadu dynasty is also Christian. So he also, and of course that's again a whole long story to tell how Krishna did and did not be affected by that arrow. And here, thank you very much and enjoy your summer semester. Hare Krishna.